Hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Buzz Behind the Sports. We have Vishnu Govind sir here today with us. And when we started Buzz Behind the Sports, Vishnu sir was the first person who was there on this podcast also. Hello sir. How do you feel coming back to this podcast?
Thank you, Path. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm happy to know that Buzz Behind Sports is making a lot of buzz now, and it's quite a brand now.
So, sir, since the time you have come back to Buzz Behind the Sports, you actually managed to write this book, G.O.A.T.S Must Be Crazy. So, sir, let's talk about the book first right now. What sparked your interest in exploring the intersection of sports and management principles?
You see, on the one hand, I've always been a sports aficionado. We discuss a lot of sports between you and me. And on the other hand, I've been a practicing management professional. I've been in marketing and brands across different product categories. At one point in time, I got this opportunity when I was consulting to work in the sports category in projects that give me a bird's eye view of the sports industry from the commercial side. So that kind of increased my affinity towards sports. I started looking at sports a little differently. Uh, I believe that sports can teach you a lot of things. Sports is educative, and that the learnings from sports will have relevance in other domains also. And it is this conviction that made me embark upon this initiative of authoring this book.
Could you share one surprising management perspective that you learned from a sporting legend that is featured in this book?
Okay. So start by talking a little bit about the book just to set the context. In this book, I've featured 11 athletes, anecdotes from their respective careers. And these are athletes from different sports who have played their sport in different time eras. So you have cricketers, footballer, track and field is there, boxer is there, there's one boxer, there is a tennis player. So it's just a concept. It's a hypothetical team. Such a team will never take the field together. The reason behind this is that through each story, I want to talk about one attribute, one quality, a GOAT-like quality. Okay, so I'll talk about one such story, and I'm not talking about one athlete. I'll talk about 4 athletes because their names need to be taken together. Because as individual athletes, they haven't achieved something truly of a global level. But as a team, they've done something truly remarkable. Okay, I'll tell you the names. They're not immensely popular athletes. Max Morinier, Jean-Charles Trouabal, Daniel Sanguma, and Bruno Marie-Rose. These aren't immensely popular names, right? In India, we don't talk about them. These 4 are members of a French relay team. They represented France at the 1990 European track and field games. You should understand relay. So relay is, those days, the United States was a dominant team. The world record was with the United States, set by the great Carl Lewis. Yeah. And no other country comes close to the United States. Okay, so this is Europe. So United States was not there. There's one British athlete, Linford Christie. He's quite popular. Was huge those days. He was there representing Britain. And before the relay, in the individual race, Christie had won the gold. In fact, Britain won gold and bronze. In the 200 meter, also Britain won gold and bronze. So in the relay, Britain were odds-on favorite. So what transpired in the race was that the French created a major upset. They won the race. Not just that, they actually broke the world record held by the Americans, which is something truly unbelievable. And I will give you some numbers which kind of nails the point that I'm kind of making. Those days in the individual 100 meter, the world record was 9.9. So to win a major race, you have to finish the race under 10 seconds. Correct. The Americans would do, Christie would do. In the 200 meter, world record was 19.72. And to win it, you need to do 1980, 1990 to win a major race. None of these 4 had ever run a 100 meter under 10 seconds before or after, or a 200 meter under 20 seconds before or after. But this story I'm narrating to say that, as an example, to show that by working together, we can create something that is far greater and far impactful than the sum of the parts.
Got it.
And we have these kind of situations in the workplace, right? I've been in marketing, so product launches have been big for me. No product launch can happen through one department, right? For a product to be successfully placed in the market, you need everyone to work together. the science and technology, the marketing, finance, supply chain, logistics, sales, customer service, everybody. They all need to pass the baton from one department to the other. So here, what did the French relay team do? They were the best when it comes to the 4 legs and also the 3 baton exchanges.
Correct.
For them, the relay was a separate event. They were not focused so much on winning as an individual. They focused on winning as a team. This is really a lesson in teamwork.
So quite interesting names that you took, because when one thinks of GOATs, we generally associate, at least the current generation tries to associate that with either Ronaldo or Messi or maybe Sachin Tendulkar. So these are the quite interesting names that you have put into this book actually.
Yes, so some of the names that are profiled here are typical legitimate GOATs, bona fide GOATs. But there are a few names like this also. What the point I'm making is that it is not a team of GOATs.
True.
It is a GOAT team.
True.
It is a team that has to win.
Yes, correct. So again, you spoke about the having the right quality, right? So in your opinion, what is the most valuable quality a GOAT possesses, both in sports as well as in business?
Okay. Interesting part that you asked this question. A few days back, we were having a session with a group, and we were discussing it in the context of who is the GOAT in Indian sports. Okay, so we had a few criteria that came up. Okay. It was collectively created. At the top was achievements, which is like the number of tournaments you have won or number of runs you've scored, number of goals. That's one. Throughout your career, the numbers.
Correct.
Hard numbers.
Yeah.
The second point is consistency. And longevity. How long have you been at the top of your game? The third point that came up was whether you are a role model. Do you show the way for others? Have you paved a path for others? Like Vishnu Govind. Now he has shown the way for a generation of chess champions from India.
Correct.
Okay, so that's one. Then there are also a couple of other attributes which are important, like how much you dominate your peers. Because you can't compare generation to generation, right? You spoke about track and field. Okay, you put Usain Bolt, hypothetically, against a champion from the past, Jesse Owens, and make them race against each other. By the time Bolt would complete, Owens would have about 10 meters left.
Correct.
But it's not his fault. It doesn't take anything from them. Those were the circumstances. Those were the facilities he had. The space had not evolved that much. It had not become that mature. Okay. So how much you dominate your peers is one attribute. And then the grace and skill aspect of it, what we call class, like a Sachin Tendulkar's straight drive, the soft touch, or Roger Federer's one-handed backhand, or the Messi's dribble. I think it really comes down to how much you build on your skills, how high you reach at the peak of your career, and how long you sustain it at a level that is almost close to the peak of your career. We are in Mumbai, right? We don't need to look far away. Sachin is a great example.
Correct.
24 years at the top. What sets him apart statistically is the number of runs he has scored, number of matches he has represented India meritoriously.
Yeah.
So that to me is a good quality. In business, it's similar, right? If you have a product in the market, you have a product life cycle, right?
Correct.
You launch it, introduce, it grows, it reaches a maturity, and there is an inevitable decline. How long can you stay at the top by being relevant to the customer, by innovating and being at the top of the game is very important. The decline is inevitable for products. The decline is inevitable for any athlete also, GOATs included.
Correct. So again, talking about the athletes that you have mentioned in the book, which athlete story in the book resonates with you the most, and what's the reason for that?
Okay, I like all the stories, okay, but I will speak about one. There are 3 cricketers in this book.
Okay.
So, the first person I've included in the team is an opening batter.
Okay.
There is one more cricketer, and the 11th is a fast bowler.
Wow.
And it is not because of an order of preference or anything, it's just the optics of a fast bowler batting at 11.
Got it.
I'm talking about Kulkarni Walsh.
Oh, lovely.
You like Kulkarni Walsh?
Lovely.
Okay. How great he is as a fast bowler when you look at the history of the greatest fast bowlers in the game. 519 wickets, he retired with the world record.
Yeah.
So right up there. But you may think of other names ahead of him.
Correct.
But my reason for having Kulkarni Walsh in the team has nothing to do with his abilities as a cricketer. It has got to do something with what I call value systems, moral compass. Okay, so this story is a little different from the other stories, and I'll tell you a small part of the story. I won't tell the whole story. It is there in the book.
Okay.
Okay, 1987 World Cup, Reliance Cup, happening in India and Pakistan. West Indies are drawn with Pakistan, England, and Sri Lanka. You know the history of World Cup and West Indies. Dominant. Winners 75, 79, played the finals of 83, lost in what can be called one of the greatest upsets in cricket. So anything failing to reach the semi-final is a disaster. So West Indies lost a match already, initial stages, and Walsh was to blame. He bowled a bad last over.
Okay.
This thing repeated. West Indies versus Pakistan, Lahore. Walsh had to defend 14 runs of the last over. It came down to 2 of the last ball. 9 wickets down. Pakistan need 2, West Indies need a wicket or a dot ball. 9 wickets down, so he can dismiss also. So he came into bowl, the non-striker backed up too much. He was a rookie, Salim Jafar. So one would expect him to do the run out of the non-striker and to Munkard.
Yeah.
He didn't do that. He stopped. He gave a friendly smile, a warning, walked back, bowled again. Then what happened? He was hit for 2 runs.
Yeah.
They lost. West Indies out of the World Cup. If they had won, there was a good chance they would have made it to the semi-finals against India in Bombay, which would have been a great opportunity to get back at India after the 83. Yes. But that was not to be. For him, he didn't want a backdoor entry to the World Cup final. It is not just about sportsmanship, really. Sportsmanship happens a lot. There are a lot of nice, great sportsmen. But I think the timing was important here. This was his value systems, and he demonstrated it when it was the most inconvenient time for him, right?
Correct.
What would have happened if he had Munkarded? He would have been criticized a little for 2-3 days. Correct. But the more enduring output would have been that West Indies played the semi-finals.
True.
Then who knows what would have happened after that.
Correct. So again, looking at this, there are so many lessons that we feel we can learn from this, right? So how can the lessons learned from the sports be applied to our daily lives and careers?
Okay, see, example is better than precept, So I believe that you should judge a person by their actions, by what they do, and not just by what they say. We say that, right? Children look at us and observe us rather than not just listen to us. So athletes are there for us to observe and learn from. They are like real life heroes. So sports teaches you a lot of things like competitiveness, empathy, caring for others, appreciating the rules of the game, handling disappointments and failures. Because sports has something very binary, something definitive about it. Sport is designed to make you either win or lose.
Correct.
Okay. So think of this scenario. Shanghai Masters is going on in tennis, right?
Correct.
Djokovic is there, Alcaraz is there, Medvedev is there, Sinner is there, and there are others. One of them is going to win, right? Others are definitely going to lose. And by the time you're going to air this, we would know who the winner is also.
True.
Imagine Jordan. 1 second to go, 1 point down, NBA Finals. Say he takes the shot. He can win 2 points and win the NBA. If he misses, they're lost.
Correct.
So that is inevitable. So that is one thing about sports. So failure is something that stares at athletes in the eye, and that's very educative. I'll just give you one piece of data. We've been watching the G.O.A.T innings, which is going on. Look at the top 10 run getters in Test cricket. Tendulkar at the top by miles. Root is the only active cricketer in that. In that 10, he's the only one right now. He's 5th. So none of them, not even one of the top 10 run getters, have a 0 to 50 conversion rate of more than 40%.
Oh, interesting.
We are talking about the greatest batsmen that have ever lived, Sachin, Lara, and others. Chances are that 3 out of times they come out to bat, they don't get even a half century. So disappointment is something that stares at you. So this need to identify one winner from a pack is not so strong in other entertainment spaces. Imagine movies. There are 2 Diwali releases. Beyond a point, we don't try to pass verdict of one as a winner over the other, right? We allow them to coexist as winners. Sports is different.
So you actually spoke about Sachin, and now that he has reached at a level after playing so long, there is definitely something about GOATs that actually make them the GOAT, right? So how can we cultivate a GOAT mindset in our own pursuits, be it sports, be it personal goals, be it business?
Yeah. See, literally speaking, there can be only one GOAT in a field because it means greatest of all time.
Right.
But nothing stops us from trying to improve ourselves. Nothing stops us from trying to be better versions of ourselves. What I would call the GOAT version of yourself.
Correct.
So, and therefore try to be the best you can be. For some people, it comes naturally, that hardworking instinct. It can also be influenced by people around you through support systems. And I think it's not just about individuals. I also think organizations and teams and businesses have a lot of opportunity to work better together, and collaborate better. And there can be external interventions which help that team become a GOAT team.
Correct. So you rightly said about that, and sports being such a big factor in everyone's life, we generally try and associate sports with being everything positive. But there is one question that I had in my mind. Do you think the competitive nature of sports can be a positive as well as a negative force in achieving success?
Yes, there are positives and negatives. Like any coin has two sides, right? The positives are very obvious. That's why people like you and me follow that a lot.
Associate ourselves
Yeah,
with
yeah.
sports.
So think of a very popular, any immensely popular sports event. UCL, the Champions League, is the most watched event of the year, right?
Correct, correct.
Come the semi-final stage, 4 teams are left. All 4 of them would think that they can win.
Easily.
They would believe that they deserve to be the winner.
Yeah.
But 3 will go out, right? Only one can win. It has been designed that way. So the 3 who lose out at that stage would feel that they've been unlucky. Maybe rightfully so. They might have lost out through in a matter of seconds or millimeters, or through a wrong decision. But see what the winner has achieved. They have qualified to start with. They are a group stage. They came through the round of 16 and that this grueling home away format.
Correct.
Round of 8 again home away. Semi-final home away against strong teams. There are no weak teams in UCL.
Correct.
Then you reach the finals. If the teams are deadlocked after 90 minutes, extra time, shootout, sudden death, finally you will find a winner.
There is going to be one winner.
And the one who has won it has deserved it, right? You can't take anything away from them. So that's the beauty of sports. That is also the bane of sports. On the flip side, the pressure to win, the pressure to perform can create psychological issues, mental health issues. Athletes need that care and support. Sometimes it leads athletes to adopt unethical practices. Like you and I are competing, right?
Correct.
You are trying to win against me.
Correct.
By denying me victory. I am also trying to win against you by denying you victory. Suppose I start doubting that maybe Parth is taking performance enhancing drugs and other things remaining the same, I'm at disadvantage, right? I will also be tempted. So all it takes is one morally weak person to spoil the whole scene.
Correct.
It's like that one rotten apple.
Correct.
It spoils the whole bunch. So these are all issues. Recently we came to face with that the weight management issue.
Yeah.
At the Olympics. With wrestlers go through. So we push ourselves a lot. Athletes push themselves to the threshold of human ability. You need guardrails when that happens.
So one incident that I can think of is the 2019 World Cup final. So what is your opinion in that? Will it be like a negative force or was it a positive force? Because that has been one of the most debated finals, whether England won it rightly or was it New Zealand's game. So looking at this question, I could only think of that example. So what is your input on that?
I will stick to what I told earlier.
Yeah.
New Zealand unlucky to lose, England deserving winners. That is sports.
Correct. That's a good one. So do you think that these examples or all these things that you have mentioned in the book, can companies or organizations successfully adopt a sports-like culture?
They can. You see, Parth, you're familiar with a lot of companies in the sports industry.
Correct.
For them, sports-like culture comes naturally to them. They might be in sport, dealing with sports goods, sportswear brands, or fantasy sports platforms and sports retailing companies like that. It comes quite naturally. One level behind would probably be those companies who have a good affinity towards sports, but maybe they're not sports industry companies. There might be people who are probably sponsors or strong believers in the sports world. They might be advertising heavily on sports programs, all that. Then go one level further, even though there may not be stated attempts to adopt a sports-like culture, uh, through some osmosis, sports culture will creep in, right? Because they are all in intensely competitive spaces. They need to perform, so that need to win comes through.
Correct.
In the process. There is sports in the air, right? In general, so suppose I use a sports term in casual conversation. It can have meanings outside sports, right? Like फिर वो full toss था or self goal हो गया. You would know what it means,
correct.
no? These are sports terms.
We resonate sports term to our daily
a lot.
lives.
Googly, curveball, slam dunk. So every culture has something.
Exam में googly आ गया.
Exam में googly आ गया.
So correct. So I guess you have given a great insight of what the book has in it, and I'm sure anyone who reads it will get to know more about everything about G.O.A.T.S.
Thank you, Parth.
So now coming to your journey. So
Okay.
can you just let us know what initially sparked your interest in the field of sports?
See, we all respond to stimuli, whatever happens around us. Like any other person, the role of people who have been close to you at the younger stage of your life will matter a lot in this. So my grandfather would watch cricket, would talk about cricket to us. I would watch a lot of sports on television those days. We didn't have much choice those days. Whatever was available, we would watch.
Correct.
Okay, and I used to subscribe to the Sports Star.
The magazine.
Yeah, the magazine. Uninterrupted from the age of 9 till the time I left home for my post graduation.
Oh.
So my parents supported me; they never discouraged. Have to be thankful for that. See, I look at sports stars as real life heroes, and I have this thing for real life heroes. I watch a lot of movies. One of my favorite genre is biopics, because truth is stranger than fiction. When you watch fiction, at some point of time they'll start following templates.
Correct.
Real life story has no such limitations. That's what I believe.
Of course. So again, you have also been a valued member of the IISM family for an extended period of time. So could you share the highlights of your journey with the organization?
Yeah, thanks, Pat. Yes, it's been an incredible experience working with everyone in the team. It's been amazing working with the leadership team, Nilesh Kulkarni, Rasika Kulkarni. Nilesh's life story is truly inspiring. He's a former test cricketer. You know, in India, cricketers have a very special place in our hearts. They retire by the time they are 35, 40, and then they have a second innings.
Correct.
And a lot of them do well in the second innings. Nilesh also. But the way he has done well is truly amazing. He has empowered a generation of sports managers and truly impacted the sports industry. And that has struck a chord with me a lot. And in a sense, I'm happy that I'm also able to play a role of my own. This is a nascent industry. Okay, a lot of things about the rule book in the industry is still being written. There's a body of knowledge that is being created, which with specific reference to Indian context. So, from that point of view, the IISM knowledge series and the work I've been able to do with it has been truly gratifying.
So, given the rapid growth of the sports industry and India's ambition to host major events like the Olympics 2036 that we intend to host, do you envision IISM contributing to the development of the future sports professionals and the industry as a whole?
Of course, in a big way. See, Indian sports industry has grown a big way in the last decade and a half. 2008 has been a watershed year. Since IPL, things have been on an upward growth curve. These are years which we say has shown us that there is a sporting nation that is slowly emerging. Okay, just sponsorship, endorsement, and ad expenses in sports, that by itself is a $2 billion industry, almost.
Huge.
So there are a lot of opportunities. Such a growing industry needs quality manpower. It needs people with the right kind of education. And IISM has been doing a pioneering role in it, a leadership role in it, through the teaching mechanisms, through the industry interfaces that the students get. There is a big role IISM is playing in making sure that there are industry-ready professionals who are taking the sports industry forward.
So, sir, what advice would you like to offer to the students of IISM who aspire to learn and grow by drawing these experiences from sporting legends?
What I would tell the IISM students is you are in an industry which is growing fast, it is doing well, there are lots of opportunities. You must be prepared to learn, you must be prepared to work hard. So, if you are interested in, say, business management, try to seek roles and opportunities that are very close to the customer.
Correct.
That's where maximum learning is, especially in the early stages of your career. Or if you are in operations, if that's what you're interested in, be where the action is. Be prepared to dirty your hands. Your career is a test match, not a T20.
That's
you
the
can play
best thing that you have said. Correct.
You can play baseball, or
But that too in Test cricket.
you can play baseball or row ball in Test cricket. But it is not a T20
Even
blitz.
chess ball for that matter.
Even it's not a T20 blitz,
Correct,
and so you are just building up your career in these early days. So have an agenda for yourself and keep pushing. Push is the word. PUSH.
Yeah.
Persist until something happens.
Wow. So just one last question that I have for you. Who is your favorite GOAT? It can be someone that is mentioned in the book, someone that is not mentioned in the book, but who is the GOAT that you look up to?
Okay. As I told you, I've covered 11 athletes
Correct.
in this, so I'm not going to talk about 11 of them. But because there are certain constructs which I had to follow. Each GOAT featured here is the epitome of a certain attribute. Okay, so for that reason, I had included one tennis player in this book. So because of which I could not include somebody else, and I'll talk about him. He's Jimmy Connors. Okay, a tennis player whom I admire a lot. A little bit about him and why I like him. 1974, he won 3 Grand Slams. He was 21, 22. So everyone said he's the next big thing in tennis. But things didn't turn out the way they were to have turned. The tennis world saw the advent of Bjorn Borg. It saw John McEnroe coming in. There was a Borg-McEnroe rivalry which caught the imagination of the public. So Connors was kind of pushed to the sidelines, but he nevertheless he continued fighting hard. He would play more matches on the tour, win a lot more smaller tournaments. In fact, by the time he retired, he had won more tournaments than anybody else.
Oh.
Even today, he has this record for winning maximum tournaments on the tour, more than Roger Federer. Okay, Borg lost steam. McEnroe was not the great force that he was earlier, come the 80s. In the 80s, Jimmy Connors survived. He won Grand Slams again. He ended up winning 8 Grand Slams, 5 times at the US Open on 3 different surfaces. That's also a story.
Okay.
The US Open always was played on grass. Then it tried clay court for 2-3 years, and then it went to hard courts. The Connors has won on all 3 surfaces. He played. He reached the semi-finals of the US Open when he was 39. Those were days when players were not active on the tour at that age. He would never give up. So his never say die attitude is truly admirable.
Amazing,
I like it,
amazing. So, sir, thank you so much for sharing such valuable insights about the book, about the journey. I'm sure anyone who reads this book is going to have a lot more idea of how these GOATs are made and how you can apply those principles in your daily lives as well. So, thank you again for joining on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Parth. Thank you.
And
It's my pleasure.
I'm hoping that by the time we have another shoot with you, you come up with such an amazing book, maybe something about another topic, and that we can, utilize and use that information and put that principles in our daily life.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.